Well, it's that time of year, isn't it? There are things to be done before Christmas Day comes upon us. And yes, it's Christmas card writing time. And here's the list, here's the pen. But this year's just a little bit more tricky, isn't it, to know what to write on a card when some people have had such a hard time and have suffered some really tragic losses, or there's so much uncertainty around and just anxiety towards what the future might hold. So what is it that we could say? Well, the church in Wakefield had that same thought. They thought, in the midst of all this coronavirus, all the things that's going on, what would Jesus be saying to Wakefield? So they got a Christmas card and they wrote on it what they felt Jesus was saying to the town of Wakefield. And I'll show you what's on that a little later. But it got me thinking about a time in America where life was even tougher than it is now. There was the Great Depression. There was mass unemployment, lots of poverty. And then these farmers, well, the soil eroded. And after the drought, the winds came along and then picked up the dirt and turned it into great dust clouds. And this time was called the Dust Bowl. And these great black clouds would envelop whole communities, whole areas. And because of that, these farmers will have lost their crops, their livelihoods, and their homes. And it was in this time that the farmers were going into a meeting to hear a visiting preacher. And as the visiting preacher went in, the people who were organising the event said to him, "Go easy on these people. They've lost everything." So he stepped up onto the stage, but didn't say anything. He paced up and down the stage and eventually stopped and said, "Tough times never last." Then he went again up the stage and back again and then said, "But tough people do. Tough times never last, but tough people do." Great words. But what about Jesus? What would Jesus do in a situation like that? Well, there was a time where John the Baptist was locked up in prison, and it was really bleak for him. In fact, it was quite likely that that's where he ended his life. And he was under this cloud and doubting sort of almost who he was and how he'd spent his life, and there was this cloud over him. So he sent some people to Jesus, and Jesus told him about what was going on, and also about his identity. But right at the end of what he said this: "Blessed is the man, happy is the man." In those circumstances, how can you say that? But Jesus knew what to say at just the right time. And we're given that same opportunity as we meet people, as we're shopping, or as we're writing our Christmas cards, to be able to say words of life or write letters of hope to people in a tricky time. So, back to the Christmas card. Well, after some prayer, the churches got together, and this is what they said to the town of Wakefield. "This Christmas, let's test positive for love, wash our hands in faith, and distance ourselves from fear." Let's test positive for love, wash our hands in faith, and distance ourselves from fear. You see, Jesus wants to work with us to bring release to the captives, to bring hope to those who are in darkness. And so let's just, when we're doing things, just take that little moment to think, Jesus, help me to give words of life, and we shall make our little part of Essex a better place. Thank you.